An Israeli ground invasion of Gaza is only hours away. That's according to the reporting of the Jerusalem Post. But how in the world would the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, know about this in the first place? He can't know what the Israelis are planning, or can he? You see, he claims Israeli forces are warning Palestinians right now, leave the border, get out of your homes on the border, as if they're about to do exactly this. And it fits a pattern going back many years. This came a short time after prayers, air raid sirens, and explosions boomed over Jerusalem. Israeli defense officials say Hamas militants fired several long-range rockets at the city. The attack came minutes after the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations described the terror in people's faces, his people's faces, every time the sirens sound. He even brought sound effects. Look.
15 seconds. That's how much time you have to run for your life. Imagine having only 15 seconds to find a bomb shelter.
Well, with that as a backdrop, Israel dramatically ramped up its counterattacks and blew up hundreds more Hamas targets, and that's just since yesterday. In all, Palestinian health officials report 85 Palestinian deaths since the Israeli offensive began, some of them women and children. So far, there are no reports of any injuries or serious injuries in Israel at all, where officials say the so-called Iron Dome defense system has intercepted lots of rockets, as they put it. Back at the United Nations, the Palestinian ambassador put all of the blame on Israel, even accused the country of war crimes.
I speak on behalf of the suffering and grieving Palestinian people who are enduring yet another barrage of death, destruction, trauma, and terror.
To that from the Palestinians, the Israeli officials responded that the militants have to drop their weapons first before Israel will even talk about a truce. They're not talking now. And if they don't drop those weapons, officials in Israel say we could see a ground invasion, something an Israeli military spokesman calls the last option. Our John Huddy with the news. He's along Israel's border with Gaza for us tonight. John?
Well, Shepard, yeah, in terms of rocket launches, by the way, we've seen several over the last hour behind us here coming from the Gaza Strip targeting Israel. As for the ground assault, you know, it could be hours or days for that matter before we find out if that's going to happen. But we took a drive earlier, curious to see if there was troops, if there were troops getting ready in a preparation stage along the border here of Israel and Gaza. And we did find a pretty sizable military contingent not far here along the border. Heavy artillery, ground troops, infantry, and we have the video to show you again. Take a look. We're seeing ground forces amassed here, tanks with 105mm cannons, heavy artillery with 155mm howitzer cannons, APCs, all-purpose carriers, and of course infantry that, if given the order, would move ahead with a ground assault. And those bulldozers, they're called D9s, and they basically clear the way. They're at the front of the line, so to speak. They clear the way for all the ground troops if there was to be an assault. Israeli officials had said at the start of this on Monday that they'd be willing to meet calm with calm. That is, if Hamas would cease fire, Israel would stop its airstrikes. But now Israeli officials say that option's off the table. Again, as for a ground assault, potential ground assault, it could be hours, it could be days before we get an answer to that question, Shepard.
John Huddy on the border for us. John, thanks very much. The crisis on our own border here.